Welcome back to the Journey We Take podcast. I hope you're all having an amazing day. I've been thinking about what I want to share in this episode for at least a couple weeks now, and it occurred to me finally that it might be the perfect time to talk a bit about my own journey. I know that not everyone here knows me yet, and I'm sure a few of you are probably wondering, who is this person I'm listening to right now? So I thought it would be a good idea to open up a little and make this space feel even more personal. Just giving you guys all a chance to get to know me, the host, a little bit better. So I'll rewind all the way back to the start to a chilly Sunday morning of January in 1998. That's when I must have thought, what a better time to make my grand entrance. I was born in the Bronx of New York City. I weighed just about 5 pounds, and unfortunately, I was far from healthy when I was born. I faced a pretty tough start. I battled health complications that eventually dropped me down to 3 pounds. But I mean, duh, life wasn't going to make things easy for me. I wasn't about to do that. Nah, how could it? But basically, I just couldn't keep any food down, and soon after, I was diagnosed with a condition. I believe it was meningitis or something like that. And according to my mom, that left the doctors really concerned, and many of them just weren't optimistic for my well-being. And my family was left just clinging to prayer and hope, and that's it. But somehow I made it. And I think, honestly, that fight to survive shaped the person I am today in ways that I'm still uncovering. As my mom would later tell me, most of the medical team had resigned to the inevitable, like I mentioned. But there was this one doctor who refused to give up so easily. And he kept a close eye on me, giving me extra care and attention because he was determined to see me pull through. And somehow, against the odds, I did. I fought. I held on. And that little spark inside of me pushed me through. And here I am right now, getting to live this life I almost didn't get to have and share my story. So I think that's amazing in itself. And to segue a little bit, I think it's also funny when I think about how much of a fight it was just to make it into this world. I can't help but smile at the name my parents gave me, Janelli. People often ask about Janelli, my name, assuming that it has some deep cultural meaning or significance, but the story behind it is a bit different, and it's just as unique as my arrival in a way. So the truth is my mom and dad just wanted a name that started with a J, and they just got a little bit creative with it. Funny enough, though, they had picked out Janelli years before I was even born. They did it actually when my brother was conceived. He's 4 years older than me. So yeah, they didn't even know his gender at the time. So Janelli was just on standby. And then when I finally came along, they didn't hesitate to use the name they'd been saving. So that's a little glimpse into the story. About a year after I was born, my parents decided it was time for a change. So they packed up our lives in New York and moved us down south to be closer to my grandparents who were there living at the time. We settled in Columbia, South Carolina, the capital of the state. And that's where I spent the rest of my childhood, growing up and eventually stepping into adulthood. But New York was never too far from our hearts. We would every year make a trek back up north for the holidays or any kind of like special occasions or family gatherings. So there were countless road trips up and down the East Coast every year. It just became a really regular part of our lives, which I feel like definitely weaved a sense of adventure into my life starting at a young age. And while life has definitely taken me far from those childhood travels, that love for the open road and exploration has stayed with me. and it's a passion that I still carry today, but I'll get more on that later. I think it's important right now to highlight the two places that have significantly shaped who I am, New York and South Carolina. These two places are so distinct, almost opposites in many ways, yet they both played a huge role in making me who I am. New York, with its vibrant diversity, the fast paced life, the endless energy, I feel like that it taught me resilience and the beauty of different cultures, while South Carolina, with its quiet country roads, the southern charm, and just the slower rhythm, gave me a sense of groundedness and appreciation for simplicity. And those two worlds, even though they're so different, they're both a very big part of me. And I know that I have personally struggled with my identity in the past, often feeling like I didn't quite belong anywhere. It was just hard to fully connect with one side or the other, and that left me questioning where I fit in. But over the years, I've learned a lot about myself, and I think as all people do, especially in their 20s, I'm already, past my mid 20s, so I've definitely taken a lot more confidence in who I am as a person. But yeah, basically, I've just learned a lot about myself personally, culturally, and overall, that's just helping me embrace all of who I am. And I take pride in my uniqueness, knowing that my experiences and heritage are all a part of what makes me me, just like anyone else, and in their own individual sense. I was raised by both of my parents, along with my older brother, who's 4 years older than me, like I mentioned just a little bit ago in the beginning of my little story here. And while he was the sibling that I grew up with day to day, my best friend, basically, I have many siblings on both sides of my family, some who I only just met in the recent years. Many of them were raised in different states, so our paths didn't always cross growing up. But fortunately, we're all connected now, and we actually keep in touch to this day and build relationships, build our relationships that, despite the distance in time, I feel like we're always meant to be. So I'm just really thankful for that. Growing up, like anyone else, came with its own set of challenges. Our household had its ups and downs, hard times, struggles, but those experiences also were very significant in shaping me, making me tough and resilient. And I think one of the biggest turning points in my life was navigating my parents' separation during a fragile time when I was a teenager, just on the edge of becoming a young adult. It was a lot to handle, I'll admit. I fell into the wrong crowd after that, picked up some bad habits, and for a while I lost sight of who I really was. I talk a little bit more about that in one of my first episodes of The Journey We Take. So if you want to go back to any of those, you can check that out. I think it's episode 1 or 2. But looking back, I realized those falls were all part of a bigger plan. Every setback, every mistake, it had a reason and it helped me grow. And it wasn't easy, but it was necessary to get me to where I am now. During that messy period of my life, I met Brandon, my now husband. And even when I was at my lowest, he saw through all the chaos and recognized the real me. We ended up growing together, and after about a year of dating, we made a bold decision to start fresh together somewhere new. So I fast forward to early 2017. This is whenever we packed up and moved across the country. I showed up with nothing but a suitcase of my belongings and a few $100s to my name to move to Las Vegas, Nevada. It was terrifying to leave behind everything and everyone I had ever known. But in retrospect, it was exactly what I needed. That leap of faith gave me a clean slate and a chance to rebuild my life from the ground up. And through it all, my family has always been my biggest support system. No matter the dreams I've chased or the life plans I've set in motion, they've always stood behind me, cheering me on every step of the way. So I'm truly grateful for my people and my support in my life. When Brandon and I first moved across the country, we didn't even have a car. So Craigslist became our go-to for findings on like places to rent, moving from one spot to another as we worked to get on our feet. And yeah, just day by day, we hustled, putting in long hours to make it work. And it really wasn't easy. There were plenty of moments when we weren't sure how things would pan out, but we just stayed determined. Eventually, we saved up enough to buy our first car together while we were living out there, and that was a huge milestone for us. That car didn't just give us freedom in our day-to-day lives. It actually was able to bring us back across the country, back to the East Coast to visit our family many times, allowing us to reconnect and just, visit home again. We made countless road trips back to the East Coast following that car purchase. Just, going to South Carolina and New York and everywhere in between. And that just helped keep us grounded during all the changes that we were going through throughout the years. And it gave us just that opportunity to stay close to our roots and despite however how far we moved or whatever. After settling in Las Vegas, Nevada, we made many connections that would be very significant for us. Eventually, we found ourselves moving again, this time to Los Angeles, California. And it was in LA that we got to live out an unexpected opportunity in the cannabis industry. And that ended up shifting the direction of our lives. One of Brandon's old friends from back east, who was living in Southern California, reached out needing help in an extraction lab. So Brandon went in for an interview. He ended up getting the job, and everything started to fall into place. Soon after, I put my barista job on hold and joined alongside of him in the industry. We were working in the lab, extracting and managing packaging, manufacturing. I don't know if I already said that, but we were doing all that for well-known cannabis brands at the time. And it was just a really exciting shift. And we were learning so much in the process. Before we knew it, those connections took us further north into the heart of Emerald Triangle, which is basically the hub of cannabis cultivation in the United States. If you look it up, you can definitely get a lot more information on the history of the area and everything like that. But we transitioned from our lab work to the cultivation side of things, which was a completely new experience. Coming from South Carolina, where cannabis was illegal, it felt completely surreal to be in a place where this lifestyle could really thrive. Cannabis had always been a part of our relationship, I'll say candidly, something that we both connected over even before we met each other. So getting to live and work in this industry felt like we were finally in sync with a part of our true selves. And over the years, our passion for it has only grown, despite the unpredictability of the market, I'll have to add. But more than anything, the people that we've met and the relationships that we've built through this journey with that plant has been invaluable, and that's something that I know we both deeply cherish. As our journey continued, Brandon and I took another big step forward in early 2021. We got married. So it wasn't the big traditional wedding as you might expect. Instead, we chose to elope back in Las Vegas, right where our story had really taken off. The same city that marked a new beginning for us was now the backdrop to one of our most important moments of our lives. And that was really special. We got to sign our marriage documents at the courthouse, which was not far from the apartment complex where we ended up spending our first night in Vegas years before. And it just felt like a full circle moment, like a chapter closing and a new one opening. Honestly, super beautiful. And I loved everything about our untraditional day. Being nearly 3,000 miles away from family is definitely tough, I will have to say. I won't lie, there are definitely days where it feels heavy being so far from everyone we love, but we both know it's all for a greater purpose, that we are working hard to build something here and carving out a life that feels right for us, and every step has been worth it. And we definitely believe that none of this is in vain. One of the gifts of this journey has been the chance to travel and see so much of this country. I've made memories I could only dream of growing up. And, a lot of it is a big part of it is just these road trips and getting to explore new scenery and driving through mountain ranges and desert landscapes and lush forests and everything in between. Also meeting people from all walks of life, experiencing their cultures and their communities. And it's all just left such a beautiful imprint on my heart. And another thing that I've discovered along the way with my journey is my love for plants. It's honestly something I didn't fully realize until we lived here in Northern California. Here's actually where we first grew our first veggie garden back a few years ago, and watching those seeds sprout into life was so magical. It was a simple but grounding experience. It brings me so much joy, and I still can't get over how satisfying it is to harvest something we grow with our own hands, whether it's vegetable, herbs, or just even like little house plants. It just reminds me that, like life, things take time to grow, and with care, they'll flourish. Sometimes I just catch myself reflecting on the past and wondering how life can move so fast. Was just writing down the date today, December 2nd, 2024. It has flown by this year. In less than a month, we will be entering 2025, a whole new year. And just, it feels like sometimes just yesterday I was that uncertain 19-year-old packing up my life into a suitcase and taking a leap of faith. Now here I am. I'm still learning. I'm still growing every single day. And while the path hasn't always been smooth, I've realized that it's what you make of it. Life can be so hard and unpredictable and messy, but it's also absolutely beautiful if you open yourself up to it. I'm just really, really grateful to just be living a life where I follow my heart, even if it feels scary or it's uncertain sometimes. That's just one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years, and I hope that someone can take that at value. And if there's one thing I hope you also can take from this, is that it's okay not to have everything figured out. As long as you're moving forward, trusting your gut and staying true to who you are, I truly believe that you're on the right path. And yeah, before I wrap this whole episode up, I don't want to end it without mentioning a very special part of my journey. My dog Nardi. Brandon and I got Nardi while we were traveling and living in Los Angeles. During that time in life, it felt like it was constantly moving and changing. From the moment we brought Nardi home, though, he became our companion through it all. And Nardi just isn't a pet. He's our family. He's my dog son, I like to call him. And he's been with us on all those countless road trips, curling up in the back seat as we've explored new places. And he's just brought us so much joy to our everyday lives. And whether it's our morning walks to start the day, lazy afternoons, or just his little hilarious antics, they just never fail to make us laugh and bring us, even more smiles throughout the day. And having Nardi has just been a very grounding presence through all the twists and turns of our story. And he's definitely another spirit in my life that I appreciate and am so grateful for. I think that he, in a way, symbolizes finding beauty in the little things and appreciating the moments in between and embracing the love that surrounds us. Like pretty much all dogs and animals and pets. He's just that reminder that even in the hustle and the chaos, there's always room for connection, joy, and those simple pleasures that make life, meaningful. Thank you so much for listening to my story today and just being a part of the Journey We Take podcast. It's something that I'm constantly working on trying to improve as I also try to juggle, my personal life and a lot of changes that have occurred throughout this year. So if you're listening to this, thank you so much again. And I hope this episode gave you a little insight into who I am and how my journey has shaped me into the person I am today. We definitely all have our own paths to walk, and I'm just happy that we can share this space together, learning and growing along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could take a moment to leave a rating or review. It really helps the podcast reach more amazing listeners like yourself. And don't forget to visit my website, thejourneywetake.com, where you can find more about the podcast, blog posts that I like to write, and some fun extra stuff. As always, too, you can connect with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, shoot me a little comment or something on one of the posts on Instagram, Facebook, and stay up to date with all the new episodes and some behind the scene moments that I will be providing for you all very soon. That's all I have for you guys today. So until next time.